a Q&A. If anyone has anything they'd like to ask about, can be about meditation, can be about life, death, what happens afterwards, happiness, joy, suffering. Anything? What's this all about? Why do we keep chanting these same sounds over and over again? Is there anything at all that you'd like to know? Say again?
What was the biggest mindset shift in your head that affected your choices today?
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
What was your biggest mindset shift that changed the way that you think about
The biggest mindset shift that affects my day-to-day life?
Yes.
Knowing that I will die. Yes. That affects everything. But deeper than that is actually understanding Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am spirit soul. I am not this physical body, I am not this hunk of meat that I'm walking around in. This is not me. I am not my mind, and saying I'm not my mind also means I am not my feelings. I am not my worries. I am not my desires. I'm none of these things. This is why in the beginning we do the mindfulness. It's like an introduction to experience, to begin to experience a little bit of our true nature. And what it's initially doing is helping us to understand who we are not. Because we walk around this life, this planet, this time that we have, from the cradle to the grave, thinking that this is me. This is me. And all of my plans revolve around this identity, this identification with the physical body as being myself. Because everything actually flows from that. If we think that we are our body, that, I'm just a combination of proteins, DNA, carbon atoms, all of this stuff, that this is actually me, then it affects everything that I do in life. What my purpose in life is, why I'm here, what I'm going to do, what I'm not going to do. All of these things are affected by how we identify ourselves. So if I think this is me, this body, then I may identify as being male, I may identify as being female, I may identify as being other, because we think this body is me. I may identify as being Australian, I may identify as being white or black or Chinese or American, South African. I think this is me. And when I look around, I see other people, and I also identify them as being the different labels that are in connection with their physical body. I also then I must fear death if I identify the body as myself. Because this body has a beginning, which means it will have an end. So therefore we know, no matter what I'm doing in life, if we identify the body as being me, then it must come to an end. Everything here must finish, and everyone and everything that I'm attached to, all the achievements that I get, maybe I become world undisputed heavyweight champion. Maybe I become a CEO of a big company. Maybe I become a famous entertainer, movie star, rock star. All of these things that a person may strive and may actually achieve, then that all goes down the toilet of time. It's all flushed down the toilet when I die, because that's the end of me, right? If I identify the body as being myself. Because we are naturally looking for joy, we're looking for happiness, we're looking for love, and if I identify myself as being my body, then we look to satisfy the body, the desires that are in the mind, and to satisfy the bodily senses. So I look for pleasure, satisfaction, happiness, through eating, right? Yummy food, hearing nice sounds, music, or the sound of my significant other's voice, the stimulation of the genitals in some form or other. So we think that this is where I will actually find happiness. So this is the first thing that I just wanted to touch on, is that, but coming to understand that I am not my physical body, that I'm not simply a combination of chemicals, of proteins, of DNA, of RNA. I am not my mind, I'm not my thoughts or desires, I am not the fears that come up in the mind, I'm not the regrets, I am not the anxieties, which are all there in the mind. I am pure spirit soul. For me, the living being, for you, for each one of us, never was there a time that I did not exist. And nor in the future shall I ever cease to exist, for I am eternal and ever existing. So I existed before this body. When this body is finished, which of course it must finish sometime, then I, the self, continue to exist. So I am different from my body, I am different from my mind. So in the same way that my body needs nourishment, I, the spirit soul, I need spiritual nourishment. I need spiritual love. I need connection. So knowing this, because you're asking me personally, so personally this governs my whole life. Coming to understand or beginning to realize this spiritual reality affects what is my purpose in life, what is my goal in life, where satisfaction or happiness will be found. So that's the one thing that affects everything of my existence. Knowing that I have an eternal bond or relationship with the Supreme Soul. And it is in that relationship with the Supreme Soul that I will find my purpose, I will find my happiness, I will find the love that I'm looking for. So my day, my life, my consciousness is centered around cultivating that relationship, cultivating that consciousness, that awareness, and trying my best to act upon that reality. Aham, Brahmasmi, I am spirit, I am not matter. I am eternal, I am not temporary. When this body dies, I do not die. So I have a long life. You know, in this life, you know, we think we have, 80 years or something like that, 80 to 90 years. So we kind of plan out our life. We play for the first 5 years. Then we go to school for the next, how long is it? 20 years? Isn't it? For many people it's 20 years. It's at least 12, but it can be 20 years. And why do I do this? Why do I go to school? Well, I'm forced to, for one thing. But the other thing is that I want to get a decent education. Why? Why do I want a decent education? So I can get a good job. Why? Why do I want a good job? Why do I want money? Do you ever, most of us go through life without even considering this at all. We just take it for granted that this is what we should be doing. Getting a higher education, getting a good job so I can make good money, so I can be what? An achiever, right? I want to achieve things in life, right? Okay, so I get the good job, I get the good money, as some people have on the internet, I get my Lambo, right? Some people are striving to get a Lambo. That makes you a man. And then you want to get the birds that come with that, and, some people put forward this as being what success is. Or if you don't buy YouTube, if you don't pay for the YouTube ad-free experience, you think buying and selling houses is the goal of life. Don't you anyone else get those ads? for seminars on how to make money out of, this is the right time. The government's doing this and the government's doing that. And we go, yeah, I want to be a success. This person's a success. Yeah, how do you know? Well, they said so. That's how I know. Right. But then it also comes down to, well, what is success? Right? If we identify our body as being ourself, then success is achieving something centered around me. This. But this is not me. Many people achieve amazing success in life materially, but are so not satisfied by it that they commit suicide or they take many, many drugs. Back in the 80s, I worked with different bands in Sydney, some quite famous bands. And most, if not all of them, I won't name them, what bands I didn't play. I roadied, I did lighting and stage work and stuff for people. I knew some who were heroin addicts. This is one of the most successful bands in Australia's history. And they'd have to shoot up before they went out on stage. Everyone got drunk afterwards. Everyone smoked whatever they could smoke or snorted whatever they could snort. And these are the people we look up to, successful. We want to be successful. Elvis Presley. I bring him up regularly because, for my generation, he was the most successful. He was extremely good looking. No matter what your sexual orientation is, he was extremely handsome. So he had that. None of us, well, should I say, I never had that. He could sing like, if not the best ever, one of the best ever voices. Charisma pouring out of his pores. He had more sexual encounters than I've eaten rice bubbles. He had money, he had property, he had fame, he had adoration, and he was so satisfied that he couldn't get up without drugs and couldn't go to bed without drugs. So we're meant to see these things and question, and not just be sheeple. So I'm not putting these people down, it's very sad. I'm just using them as an example. So, we think, okay, I don't want to be Elvis Presley, but we want, some version of material success. And therefore we engage, we make a to-do list, we make a plan on how we're going to achieve these. And there's nothing wrong with material success. Spiritual life is not anti, material well-being at all. But if we make that the goal of our life, then we will not be satisfied. We will miss out on the real purpose and what real success is. So real success is when we begin to act on who we truly are, the eternal spirit soul, temporarily in this body. I have an eternal, loving, harmonious relationship with the Supreme Soul, which I have forgotten. I'm wandering around in this material dimension, having forgotten who I am. So it's to cultivate this spiritual understanding and then to act on it. So the decisions I make, where I will live, what I will do today, all of these things, how I will treat people, all of these things, how I decide how I will do these things is centered around this realization of who I am. So that's the answer to your question. So of course there's no way that I can go in depth, because on each one of these things we could talk for literally days, if not weeks. But as a summary, this is the thing that affects my whole existence. It changes everything. It changes absolutely every part, every fibre of our existence when we actually come to consider, contemplate, meditate upon this reality. Is that okay? So this is actually what, this whole event, our whole yoga center is about helping people materially, physically, mentally and spiritually. Because yes, if our bodies are fit and healthy, then, our journey through life will be easier. If we're not struggling, with some mental, health issues, then of course we can make clearer decisions. We're not overcome by depression and anxiety and the fears, that can overcome the mind. So knowing that we are not our mind and not our feelings, desires, etc. is important. And understanding that we are spiritual in essence and that we are eternal living beings, that means our life is not just 80 years, and we shouldn't base our decisions about our life and what we are going to do in life based upon this temporary 80-odd years. We should base it upon our real identity as eternal and make decisions in harmony with that reality. Is that okay? Of course, we can talk further, but that's about what we have time for now. And obviously, the reason that we're doing what we're doing tonight is to help us on that journey, to help us come to realize these realities. And then the more we come to realize them, we'll begin to gain deeper insights in our daily life. We'll be able to make clearer decisions on what to do, what is helpful in my journey.